Good morning. Welcome to meeting number 8 of the House of Commons Standing Committee on Citizenship and Immigration. I call the meeting to order. Members and witnesses may speak in the official language of their choice. Interpretation services are available for this meeting. You have the choice at the bottom of your screen of either floor, English, or French. If interpretation is lost, please inform me immediately, and we will ensure interpretation is properly restored before resuming the proceedings. The raise hand feature at the bottom of the screen can be used at any time if you wish to speak or alert the chair. Today, we are resuming the study on recruitment and acceptance rate of foreign students. On behalf of the committee, I would like to welcome the witnesses for appearing before the committee today. Today, for this panel, we are joined by Réseau des Cégepes et des Collèges francophones du Canada. They are being represented by Jean Leger, Executive Director, and also Francois Dornier, Chairman of the Board. We are also joined by World Education Services, being represented by Sharmila Madani, Managing Director, Canada, and Deputy Executive Director. I would like to make a few comments for the benefit of the witnesses. Before speaking, please wait until I recognize you by name. When you are ready to speak, you can click on the microphone icon to activate your mic. A reminder that all comments should be addressed through the chair. Interpretation in this video conference will work very much like a regular committee meeting. When speaking, please speak slowly and clearly. When you are not speaking, your mic should be on mute. Witnesses will have 5 minutes for their opening remarks. During the rounds of questions, I will raise the cards giving warning for 1 minute, 30 seconds, and a red card showing that the time is up. I would now like to welcome Mr. Leger, who will begin our discussions with 5 minutes of opening remarks. So,
Bonjour,
Mr. Leger, if you can please begin, you will have 5 minutes for your opening remarks. Thank you.
Bonjour, cher.
Good morning, committee members. Mr. François Dornier is going to be making the presentation on behalf of our organization.
Just 1 second. Yes, please.
Madam Chair, we don't have any of the video screens on here. I'm not sure if there's a technical issue in the room, but it would be helpful if they were on.
Are those screens operating? I will suspend the meeting for a minute so that we can check in regards to the video stream.
Madame la Présidente, j'aimerais vous aviser aussi.
Madam Chair, I would also like to let you know that Mr. François Dornier will be making the presentation on behalf of the RCCFC, the Francophone Colleges and CIMM Network of Canada.
Yeah, we will just testing the videos. We will just resume in a minute.
It's on now. So, yeah.
Okay. I call the meeting to order. Yes, you can please begin.
Alors, bonjour.
Good morning. Good morning, Madam Chair, committee members. My name is François Dornier, and for 3 years I have been chair of the Réseau des Cégepes et des Collèges francophones du Canada, the Francophone CIGEP and College Network of Canada, the RCCFC. With me is our Executive Director, Mr. Jean Leger. I'm very happy to be here with you today so that I can put forward the point of view of our organization to your committee. The RCCFC was established in 1995, and its mission is to establish a genuine partnership between Francophone colleges and CIGIPs in Canada. It is a network that enables the institutions to help each other, to promote their interests and to exchange, and to work on the improvement and accessibility of college-level studies in French. The RCCFC also has a mission to support the development of Canadian francophonie by putting its establishment and its network at the service of French language. The RCCFC includes all Francophone colleges in minority communities and almost all French-language CIGIPs in Quebec. We would like to congratulate the committee for deciding to focus on the important challenges facing French language Francophone post-secondary educational institutions in recruiting international students. Over recent weeks, we have been asking our members about their points of view on the recruitment of international students, and many are extremely concerned about the situation. They are asking for quick, significant changes in the process, in the decision-making processes and criteria to issue study permits. With our colleagues of the ACUFC, the Federation, the Quebec CIGIP Federation, and the FCFA, we are proud of cooperating on this issue, which is of interest to us all. We support their positions, which you are already familiar with. We're not going to repeat their concerns because you are already familiar with them. Regarding our own point of view, the directors we have spoken with believe it is essential to diversify revenue sources. By welcoming international students, we have more margin for financial maneuver in many colleges. Sometimes the survival of CIGIPs and colleges in some regions depends on it. By inviting international students, however, there are significant risks for the students. They need a return on their investments. Some establishments welcome immigrants or help them enter jobs, and this becomes an opening into college-level training and Francophone immigration in many communities. This is why many managers in colleges want to see better cooperation among colleges and with Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, as well as with embassies, in order to make it easier for students to have work-study visas and to shorten processing time and making it difficult for students to arrive in time for the date on which their studies begin. Concerns of our members focus on long processing times, a very high number of refused visas, or an apparent or real bias in study visas, particularly from Francophone African countries and the Antilles. There is also lack of consistency in departmental decisions. Here are our recommendations. We believe there should be closer and more frequent contacts with agents and colleges so that they gain a better understanding of the current situation. There should also be more details given in letters in which visas are refused. It should be easier to contact agents to gain more information on the reasons for such refusal, and there should be better cooperation with CIGIPs and colleges and more information sharing. Agents should not be making arbitrary decisions without giving the college or CIGIP some leeway for discussion. We recommend a system that allows direct communications between applicants and the institution, like there are in Quebec.
Opportunity in the round of questioning, and we will now proceed to Madame Madani. She is representing World Education Services. You will have 5 minutes for your opening remarks. You can please begin.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak before the committee. WES, World Education Services, is a not-for-profit social enterprise dedicated to helping international students, immigrants, and refugees to achieve their educational and career goals. On behalf of WES, I would like to express my appreciation for the work of the Standing Committee. As you have heard from previous speakers, Canada is a top destination for international students. The international student population in Canada has tripled in the last 10 years, and they also contribute to the broader economy as consumers. $22 billion in GDP annually and more than 170,000 jobs. Most prospective international students perceive study permits as an easier path to permanent residency. Therefore, it is really important to consider the entire journey of the international student from pre-arrival to studying in Canada and finally transition into the workforce. Looking more holistically at their experience will help the committee understand the challenges that they face as they go through the journey and key recommendations to address these gaps. It is important that this will require increased collaboration among many, many stakeholders. Today, World Education Services is making 4 recommendations to support the success of international students academically and professionally. First, providing accurate information before arrival. Prospective international students seeking to study in Canada often get advice and assistance from recruitment agents. A November 2021 report from ICEF Monitor, a global organization that supports global student mobility, estimates that almost 50% of international students studying in Canada are referred by an agent. Inaccurate or missing information from recruitment agents presents so many challenges, and unfortunately, international students often rely heavily on these agents to make life-changing decisions. We have a model right here in Canada that can address this issue. In 2016, Manitoba introduced legislation to regulate the educational service provider industry and protect international students from recruitment agents in Canada and abroad that may lead them astray. So our first recommendation is that the federal government encourage provinces to introduce similar legislation like Manitoba to regulate recruitment agents. This one will enable students to access accurate information and reduce fraudulent activities. Secondly, succeeding in Canada after arrival. International students must be set up for success if they make decisions to stay in Canada as potential immigrants. Canada needs to support them in the same way as we do with other immigrants. These students need to have access to the same supports and in some cases additional unique supports to facilitate the labor market integration. This means ensuring equitable access to settlement and employment services. So our second recommendation is for the federal government to significantly expand the scope of settlement and integration services. This includes directly supporting settlement agencies as well as post-secondary institutions to provide settlement services and employment services to international students. Supporting international students in the transition to the labor market requires expanding access to and funding for what's called work-integrated learning and summer job opportunities. According to Stats Canada, the importance of Canadian work experience is well recognized and contributes to clear earnings advantage for international students who have Canadian education and employment experience. Currently, international students are capped at a maximum of 20 hours of off-campus employment. For some, the 20-hour restriction means they can apply relevant internships or co-op work placements. So our third recommendation is for the federal government to provide international students the opportunity to gain Canadian work experience through different work-integrated programs. This requires, amongst others, revisiting the current maximum cap on working hours depending on the occupation. Finally, transitioning to permanent residency. Last year, the federal government introduced a new permanent residency pathway for international students, and the cap of 40,000 applications was reached in 24 hours. According to CBIE, 60% of international students are interested in becoming permanent residents. To qualify for a study permit, basically they must provide evidence that they will leave. And yet what ends up happening is that the federal government is encouraging them to stay. Nova Scotia has a study and stay program, which is an example of an initiative that works. So we think that the government should be transparent and provide consistent information to international students, policy coherence and alignment between study permit criteria and immigration pathway criteria. So clear policies, accurate information, and streamlined supports will benefit Canada and international students who choose to study and live here. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today.
Thank you. And with that, we will now proceed to our round of questioning. And our first member will be Mr. Genius. Mr. Genius, you will have 6 minutes for your round of questioning. You can please begin.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. And as this is my my first time here, I want to just say hello to all the members and express how grateful I am to have the opportunity to be joining the Immigration Committee.
Welcome to the committee.
Thank you. And appropriately on a study that's been initiated by my friend, Mr. Brunel Duceppe, who I've worked with on another human rights issues. So I thought maybe just to start off, Mr. Dornier, you were just finishing your statement, and I wonder if I can just give you a minute of my time to.
Merci beaucoup. Je vais le faire très rapidement au sujet de nos recommandations.
Thank you. I'll do this very quickly. Our recommendations are that the department be asked to call a meeting as quickly as possible with the main partners on the issue to clarify issues, to forge closer ties and better communication. It's all a bit foggy and we're not sure of what's going on. We suggest that the department organize webinars with its partners in the region, in Africa and the Caribbean, to focus on requirements and to eliminate the opportunities for fraudulent middlemen who are often involved. So it would be good to have a meeting. That's what we suggest. And we also suggest that we receive more information on rates of refusals, reasons for refusal, the main problems encountered, the kinds of studies carried out, the kinds of programs that students are applying for. We need better cooperation from the department.
Okay. Thank you very much. And I'm just going to say as well, in the future, I'll do better in terms of being prepared to speak in French at these meetings. Not my first language, and I'm a bit rusty, but in the future, I will. I wanted to just ask about some of the international comparisons. We hear a lot about the efforts of other players, certainly the government of China, to have expand their influence in Africa. There's the historic and ongoing influence of France. What are other countries doing when it comes to engagement of recruitment of international students? Where are students who are refused by Canada more likely to end up? Are there things we should be aware of or learning from in terms of what other countries are doing in this respect?
La question est adressée à nous?
Who is this question to?
Difficile de dire.
It's hard to say what country has the highest rate of refusal because we don't have an accurate overall picture of the reasons for which students are being refused. When students decide to study in Canada, my apologies, when they decide to come to Canada for post-secondary studies, well, from the time they decide to apply to the time they disappear from our screens, we really don't have a clear view of the intervening stages. We don't know why things take so long. We don't know why they are refused, and we would find it useful to have that information. That is an excellent question, and I would have a better chance of answering it if we had closer cooperation with Citizenship and Immigration.
I can answer the question, Madam Chair, in terms of the question that has been asked. As we understand it, the three jurisdictions that attract students, and I would call them competitor jurisdictions, would be the UK, would be US, and Australia. The reason why Canada is such an attractive destination is because it's one of the pathways to become permanent residents. And so, you know, in terms of what my colleague has just said, as a witness, that, you know, making sure that there's clarity around provision of information in terms of, you know, expediting applications and making sure that they can get into the labor market seamlessly are very important considerations.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Sticking with you, Ms. Madhani, do you have concerns about efforts by foreign states to influence or interfere in the lives of international students when they're here in Canada, to monitor their behavior, for instance, political activities they might be involved in or things they might be saying in the classroom? Is this a concern, and what can we do to protect the rights of people on Canadian soil to participate freely in the democratic life of the university and our country without that kind of interference?
I'm not able to respond to that question because, in fact, that's not in the jurisdiction of World Education Services. We deal with assessing reports, educational reports of individuals who come to our country.
Okay, thank you very much. I think maybe am I out of time, Madam Chair, or? Pardon me?
16 seconds.
16 seconds. Okay. All right. I'll yield the floor then. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. We will now proceed to Mr. Al-Khouri. Mr. Al-Khouri, you will have 6 minutes for your round of questioning. You can please begin.
Merci, Madame Chair, et bienvenue à nos invités. Merci d'être présents ici aujourd'hui pour répondre à quelques...
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you to our witnesses to be here for this important topic we're discussing. My first question is for Ms. Madani. Ms. Madani, I'm very happy to hear from you that in the past years, the number of foreign students accepted has tripled. It's good news for the Canadian economy, and it's good to see that a good number of students are accepted here in Canada. Once students have arrived here, they need help. They need help to adapt. So is there cooperation between you and other institutions like CIGEPs, universities, the department, to see what businesses in the workplace to help these people? And I would like to know more precisely what are the solutions that are put in place for institutions in order to facilitate the stay of students and their socioeconomic integration?
Basically, one of the issues and a recommendation that World Education Services is making is to make sure that these international students have supports while they're studying. At this point, the criteria that the federal government has is if you're an international student, you don't have eligibility for settlement services or, in fact, employment services that the provinces provide. And so you end up with international students who are either getting individualized services within the institution, or they might have their own community or ethnic group supporting them. We think that there should be a coherent approach with organizations working together. So it would be the federal government, supporting settlement agencies and employment services right now that already provide services to immigrants. And also in terms of labor market entry, they're taking particular courses. And sometimes the courses they're taking, they might need longer working hours or experience. And so again, what does that look like in terms of the 20-hour cap? So the recommendation that we're making is that there has to be an intentional approach to providing services to these organizations to support international students while they're studying, while they're basically working, whether it's 20 hours or more, depending on the occupation, so that after they graduate, they're able to enter the labor market pretty seamlessly, rather than basically trying to sort out where they're going to end up. Because there are studies that have shown that if international students are not getting the relevant work experience while they're studying, then when they try to enter the labor market, because of lack of work experience, they might not be able to enter the occupation in a way that basically commensurates with the education they have received. So we need to bring all the various parties together to actually talk about what is the best way to support them while they're studying and just before they enter the labor market and once they get into the labor market.
Merci, Madame. Recently,
Thank you. Recently, the department and the Canadian government has created programs to give students opportunities when they finish their diploma to present an application to become permanent resident, especially in areas where Canada needs qualified workers. So what can you tell us about this program? Where are you at in relation to this program? And the question is for Ms. Madani.
What the federal government did last year is that they created a large number of spots, so 40,000 spots for international students who were here on a temporary basis to become permanent. Those spots filled up in 24 hours, which meant that, in fact, there was a huge motivation for these students to stay. After the 40,000 spots were basically finished, students couldn't apply anymore. So that's what I'm aware of in terms of what the federal government is doing. Again, the question and one of the recommendations that World Education Services has put on the table is to make sure that international students know what are the steps that it takes to become permanent residents and have the processes in place so that they're able to apply and quickly get a response. It's the program that they have in Nova Scotia that's called Work and Stay. And as I understand from the province, it was a highly, highly successful program where there's policy coherence around come here as a student and then stay, and we'll support you with services so that you can become a contributing member of our province.
Monsieur Dornier.
Mr. Dornier. Mr. Dornier, can you talk us about the challenges that international students are confronted with when they arrive in Canada, and more precisely in Quebec? International students, when we recruit them everywhere in French-speaking countries, the most important challenge is not to convince a foreign student to come and study in French in Quebec or elsewhere in Canada. This is relatively easily done, but the bureaucracy and the procedures for admission is discouraging for many.
An opportunity in the next round. We will now proceed to Mr. Brunel Desap. Mr. Brunel Desap, you will have 6 minutes for your round of questioning. You can please begin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So welcome to our witnesses for this important study that's very important for me, and I thank my colleague Garnett to have underlined the fact that I have pushed for this study. So I'm happy to see you here today. Throughout our meetings, we saw numbers. There's an important difference in refusal rates for French-speaking students in Africa compared to students in other countries, and even between French-speaking institutions and English-speaking institutions, post-secondary institutions. I would like you to tell us, Mr. Léger and Mr. Dormier, to what extent these African foreign students are important for the establishments, the institutions, rather, that you represent. Can you tell this to the committee? I think you are on mute, Mr. Dormier. Sorry, yes, as I was saying earlier, students, wherever they're from in the Francophonie, are important for us. We cannot only go and recruit in Western Europe, in France and Belgium. We have to go to other parts of the French-speaking world. And our efforts with local authorities to interest students, potential students, for example, in Africa or in the Caribbean, are important efforts. But the problem is the bottleneck, and we do not understand why it exists, whether it's delays or refusals. And a student who has convinced himself that he wants to leave his country to come and study in Canada, because as Madame Madani was saying earlier, these students want to come to Canada. They're interested. But the pathway becomes very complicated, and then they communicate with us to ask us for help and ask us, and we do not have this capacity. So these students, well, we have to help them make the process easier for them to come to our institutions. And it's a lot of efforts, and institutions will become discouraged because will think that it's not worth recruiting everywhere, including in Africa and the Caribbean, if these students are confronted with too many obstacles and abandon their project. Question. I've been listening to you, and you have underlined a couple times that one of the important problems, it seems, listening to you, is the lack of transparency of the department towards the institutions that you represent. Answer. Yes. And we're not saying that there are no reasons. It's just that we don't understand the reasons. So it's difficult for us when we approach a student, if there's a technical reason or profile that's a problem, if we don't know historically that this type of profile may lead to a problem in an application, we approach students and we don't see any difficulties. You should start the process, and we start the process with them. But if we knew more about the reasons why certain profiles in these regions lead to problems in the applications, well, it would be easier for us to give the right information at the beginning and to invest resources, time, and money on potential student profiles that have a better chance of being accepted. We are convinced that the best way to bring students to the country and to immigrate is through studies, because this gives them years to be able to adapt and create a social network and to see if their project is good. Question. So is there not a double discourse or a contradiction then? Because for many of their students, the reason for a refusal that's given to them is that they will not go back to their country. Is there a contradiction? Because someone with a diploma here who speaks French, who has a social network, is the best kind of immigrant. Answer. Yes, exactly. You're describing it exactly. So we need a discussion to establish what the government vision is for international recruitment, what the vision of institutions is. We might see that we do not have the same vision. It's only a hypothesis. For now, we don't know because there's no discussion. But if we need foreign workers in Canada, the best way to integrate them could be studying. But is that what the bureaucracy thinks? We need a dialogue to find out. Question. We're running out of time, but what I understand, if you would really like to talk to IRCC to understand, so this is one request you have, we can put in our recommendations. We talked about an ombudsman also, the creation of an ombudsman to help institutions, but also to help students, for them to be heard because there's no appeal route. Answer, yes, because when we tell students that their project interests us and then they're rejected, it's difficult. And when they are 5,000, 8,000 kilometers away from the place where the decision is made, it makes problem solving impossible. Thank you very much for your answers.
Ms. Kwan, you will have 6 minutes for your round of questioning. Please begin.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you to the witnesses for your presentation. One of the issues with students, of course, is that when they make an application, they often get rejected. And this has been demonstrated with Franco-Africans making their applications. And there are concerns with internal biases and even possibly discrimination in the evaluation of the applications. Now, one of the issues that has surfaced in our discussion is the notion of dual intent. IRCC asks or indicates clearly that for your study, you're able to stay, or you could choose to stay, or that there are options to stay. But however, people often get rejected for the application because IRCC does not believe that you return at the end of your study. So in the process of recruitment with the agents that are working with these students, how much do they push the notion that Canada can be a destination where the students can in fact stay after their studies? Maybe I can start with, I'll ask this question to both of the witnesses.
I'll let Mrs. Madani maybe start.
Sure. So, that's one of the recommendations that World Education Services is making, because there is inconsistency, and you call it dual intent, I would call it the catch-22 situation. Because in fact, when students put in an application that they're coming as students, they have to demonstrate that in fact they will study and return. And yet on the other side, we do want young people to come to our country to study, to get the work experience and stay, because we have a population growth that's aging, not enough young people coming into the system. And so that becomes a really difficult issue for students, because should they basically lie on the application, or should they tell the truth and then be rejected? So when we were looking at this particular issue, we looked at the province of, they started a pilot program called basically Study and Stay. And what happened here is that they were very transparent with students. You come here to study, and we will make sure that you stay, and we'll provide mentoring and other supports. And the program was not just oversubscribed. They found that a lot of students appreciated this and actually stayed in the province. And they're going to expand this program to 2022. So the question that I put on the table, and it's a recommendation that we're making, is that the government, it's not just IRCC, the government should provide transparent and consistent information to international students. So the policy coherence around individuals coming to study, and the criteria for keeping people here because we want them to contribute, should basically balance. And so, it is a recommendation that we shouldn't give dual messages to individuals. We should have really clarity around if we want students to stay, then we should say, yes, please stay. And if you come as a student, then we will encourage you to stay.
Some of the witnesses previously, actually, just to follow up on that response, suggested that the government should do away with this dual intent notion. Is that your recommendation?
It really depends. The motivation of students is different. So, when we have looked at research that shows why are students motivated to come, the students from some countries whose motivation is actually to stay and contribute. And from other countries, the motivation is that our education system is of high quality and stellar. They want to basically benefit from our education system and go back and contribute to their countries. And so that's why I'm not suggesting that you do away with you stay or you don't stay. It's just clarity around if individuals choose to stay, then they should be encouraged to stay, rather than the penalty that they may face where they're getting rejected if they say, well, I want to stay, but you're going to reject my application. So my perspective is clarity with respect to what we're saying to students. Don't say on the one hand, are you going to stay? We'll reject you. Just say, if you choose to stay, then basically we will encourage you by providing the supports.
Okay. However, the policy needs to be addressed, though. Making it clear does not solve the problem. The government has to decide what is their decision and what is the policy, and that is the core of the issue. And as long as you have this possibility that you can stay or you can go, then I think the problem is going to persist. Maybe I'll go to our other witness, Mr. Donier.
Je suis tout à fait d'accord avec l'intervention de Mme Madani.
I completely agree with what Mrs. Mahdani said. Actually, I would go even further. Why would we keep this to stay or to go as an issue? It shouldn't even be an issue. A foreign student who, for personal reasons, wishes to come and study here and then go back because there might be advantages in his or her own country, well, that's fine. And if a student finds that there is much less future in his or her own country, and we've seen that because in CIGEP there have been lots of programs like Ville de la Réunion where government would be paying students for, they were paying students to stay in Quebec for their studies because Reunion Island had no future.
We will now proceed to Mr. Hallen for our second round of questioning. And Mr. Hallen, you will have 5 minutes for your round of questioning.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to the witnesses. Madam Chair, I wanted to, before I get to my questions, I wanted to discuss the urgent motion that I put forward in regards to Ukraine. Is that something we can do now?
Yeah, the motion was moved. You have time.
Okay. So I just wanted to discuss that with everyone that's here. There was a friendly amendment that done by Ms. Lalonde that I think that we can incorporate. And I know that Ms. Kwan also put forward, as well as Mr. Jenis put forward a motion or amendment to, and Ms. Kwan had a motion of her own. I don't know if it's the will of the room or the will of my colleagues that we can combine these because they all are pretty similar, that we can combine all these motions and the amendments together in a friendly kind of amendment to and then pass it through today, because I think it's quite urgent given the situation in Ukraine.
Ms. Lalonde.
Merci beaucoup.
Ms. Lalonde.
As Mr. Allen has suggested, to propose a friendly amendment to his motion, so I'm not sure about the will of the committee of how, if you have to read your motion and then I would propose my amendment. I do believe that would be the first scenario, and then we can move on with the rest, but we do have witnesses, so I just don't want to, I'm not sure how my great colleague wants to proceed.
I think just given the urgent situation, I think it's best that if we can pass this now with all the other colleagues. I think everyone is pretty much on board.
Moved a motion that the Standing Committee on Citizenship and Immigration report the following to the House. We, A, condemn the unwarranted and unprovoked attack on Ukraine, which was ordered by Russian President Vladimir Putin, a clear violation of international law, and B, call on the Government of Canada to support refugees who are impacted by this conflict and ensure that it is prepared to process applications on an urgent basis without compromising needs in other areas. So that's the motion Mr. Hallen has moved. So now we will have to have debate on this. Ms. Lalonde.
Thank you very much.
Madame la Présidente.
One moment, Madam Chair. Mr. Brunel-Duceppe, please go ahead. I have just received Ms. Kwan's motion. I don't have the others. Could someone kindly send them to me?
The motion which Mr. Hallen has brought in, it was sent out last week. The clerk has sent Ms. Lalonde's amendment just now. So the motion from Mr. Hallen was sent to all the members last week. Ms. Lalonde.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la Présidente. Écoutez,
Thank you, Madam Chair. As my colleague said, I would like to propose to move an amendment that the Standing Committee on Citizenship and Immigration present the following to the House. We, A, condemn the unjustified and unprovoked attack against Ukraine, which was ordered by Russian President Vladimir Putin, a clear violation of international law, and B, call on the Government of Canada to support refugees, and this is where the amendment comes in, Ukrainians and people living in the Ukraine, residents of Ukraine impacted by the conflict, and ensure that it is prepared to process applications on an urgent basis without compromising needs in other areas.
Yes, Mr. Brunel.
One moment, Madam Chair. Yes, Mr. Brunel-Duceppe. I don't want to hold things up. I know that this motion will have to be debated, but we do have witnesses with us. These witnesses have come to testify. I think we should finish dealing with the witnesses and to deal with Francophone students, and suddenly we're debating a motion on Ukraine, which we can deal with after the witnesses have gone.
That Mr. Hullen has moved a motion and Ms. Lalonde has moved an amendment to that motion. So right now we have the amendment moved by Ms. Lalonde on the floor. We will have to deal with that and then this motion before we can proceed. So we will have to have all those members who wish to speak to this amendment and the motion. We will have to deal with this before we go.
Madam Chair, point of order.
Yes, Mr. Dhaliwal.
Madam Chair, I'm trying to take your attention for the last little while, but somehow...
A speaking order. I have a speaking order. After Ms. Lalonde, we have Mr. Dhaliwal, and then Mr. Genius, and then Ms. Kwan.
But I agree with Mr. Brunel Decept that we should go to the witnesses and then we work on this motion because it's wise thing to do, and I'm fully supportive of it.
Just one second. Let me just clarify with the clerk. In regards to the will of the members to proceed with the witnesses, everyone will have to agree that we adjourn the debate and take it into the in-camera portion after the witness. We are finished hearing from the witnesses. Do we have the consent from all the members to adjourn for now and then get into this debate on this motion in the second part, which will be in-camera meeting after we hear from the witnesses?
Point of order.
Mr. Jenis.
Madam Chair. I don't think it would be appropriate to consider this motion in camera. I don't have a principal objection to the timelines, but surely we could continue to debate this motion in public after we've finished hearing from the witnesses. So provided that there was no objection from colleagues, then we should I would be supportive of continuing with the witnesses, but resuming consideration of this motion in public. Let's say
if that's that's the will of all the members and we have a consent from all the members, we can proceed with the round of questioning. The second round, we were based on the time we had. Mr. Helen has 5 minutes, and then we have Ms. Kaya Baga for 5 minutes, and Brunel Decept for 2.5, and Ms. Kwan, and we can end that, and the witnesses can leave, and we can continue our public part of the meeting and debate on this motion. Is that the will of all the members? Yes. Everyone
Perfect.
Agreed?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. So we will now proceed to Mr. Helen for your 5 minutes of the round of questioning. You can please begin.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to my colleagues for that discussion as well. This question is for both of the witnesses today. There's a lot of talk about the foreign credentials and the recognition and also the transferring of credentials when it comes to whether it's students for what they've already completed. Do you guys have any recommendations for or see any issues that happen for refusal rates sometimes because they don't get recognized for what they've done in their home country?
I guess I can...
No voice.
Can you hear me? Because I can.
Can everyone hear?
Yeah, I'm getting an echo.
Okay, 1 second. I will suspend the meeting. We will check the interpretation.
And also, Madam Chair, when the member moves the motion, doesn't that take out of the 5 minutes that are allocated? That's usually been the case I have previously noticed.
Just on that point of order, the committee had agreed unanimously to resume at this point. So that would normally be the procedure. But since we
the time, let Mr. Dhaliwal finish, and then we will proceed to Mr. Jenis. Mr. Dhaliwal, I just started, and with the consent of the members, we will be proceeding to the debate of the motion. So I decided to give the time. Mr. Jenis.
I apologize, Madam Chair. You made the point precisely.
Okay,
so
thank you. Can everyone hear? Can we resume? Is interpretation working? Okay, begin.
So in terms of foreign credential recognition, at World Education Services, in fact, we accept verified documents. And as a result of COVID, we now get a significant number of credentials that come through digitally from institutions where we get individuals from our top 3 countries, from India, Philippines, and Nigeria. With respect to international students, generally, as I indicated during my remarks, that majority of the international students at the undergraduate level come through recruitment agents, and they come directly to the post-secondary institutions. So World Education Services will see international students after they've basically finished their study and they want to either get licensed or go back to school. And at that point, we do get their information directly from the institutions. So I'll just leave it at that in terms of getting the credentials. We do it digitally. We get verified documents and we work directly with the post-secondary institutions in their home countries.
I'm not sure that I have global information because the systems we use are very different outside Quebec than in Quebec. So I don't have a specific answer to that question.
Mr. Donier, you had said in your remarks that you or your organization tried to reach out to IRCC. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that? Have you tried to reach out back to them to give more recommendations or give any information to the committee?
I'd refer this to the Director General to answer that question. So, Jean? Thank you, Mr. Donier. Yes, we asked our members, and they indicated that they did have links with representatives of the department or the embassies, but it was a bit erratic. It wasn't very solid. So that's why we want to implement solid channels of communication that are permanent and not have this haphazard way of talking to people. So I think that's a very important need for our members. I think one of the recommendations we made was to have a meeting as soon as possible with Immigration, Citizenship, and Refugees to implement those lines of communication. Right now, the department does its thing. The post-secondary institutions do theirs. We shouldn't necessarily write later. We should do it right now. And their post-secondary institutions are losing. It's the Francophone institutions that are losing out here. So it's important to have this channel of communication.
Just to continue on with that, is there something that this is your time? You can give us some of those recommendations. Would you like to take a little bit more time to passing on what you would like to say?
There was the notion of accountability. I think that the president indicated that, but I think it's essential. The situation is urgent. Accountability by the department should be at least annual with high-level explanations to tell us what was the level of placement, the countries of origin, the most common reasons for refusal, etc. There has to be a systematic process. Right now, it's anything and nothing. It's whatever they interpret it as. So there should be very clear parameters. there's a perception that it's arbitrary, and that has to be eliminated.
We will now proceed to Ms. Kayabaga. Ms. Kayabaga, you will have 5 minutes for your round of questioning.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, good. I would like to start by thanking our guests today for taking their time to speak to us in our committee. Je pensais ma première question.
My first question is for Mr. Dornier. We've been discussing these things with different witnesses for some time now. Among some of the information shared with us, we found out that 60% of Francophones that apply are in Africa. We're doing a study of the refusal of African students. Can you comment on the fact that we found out that there's not enough visa offices in Western Africa or in key areas that would facilitate things for these African students so that they could come to Canada? That's a problem that also applies in many countries. When consular services for official documents are difficult to access and you require being present in person, they don't easily use electronic documents. So we're really complicating the lives of these students, particularly in Africa, when we recruit, because they not only have to go to these official places to start the process, but sometimes they have to go back 2 or 3 times. It's already complicated for them to go once, so it's even more complicated if they have to go back. So that's definitely a problem. We're very rigid, very closed off, not very flexible when it comes to the measures to facilitate the administrative process in these situations. So you agree that it would be a good idea to adopt this measure to meet our challenge of increasing Francophone immigration to Canada? Yes, absolutely. My next question is, we read articles recently about this topic. Often, students that apply and are awaiting acceptance are paying fees. Can you tell us whether your institution receives these fees, and if the student is not accepted, are they returned? Is that something that causes problems for these African students? That's a good question. I can speak about CEGEPs in Quebec. The fees are usually minimal at the outset as far as registration fees, but I can't give you the technical details. In principle, yes, they are reimbursed. Well, the article was saying that Canadian institutions that receive these fees we're receiving complaints from students. They want to know why they don't receive these fees back when they are refused. Don't you think this should be done systematically? Shouldn't they be reimbursed if they are not accepted? Well, if we're talking about minimal administrative fees for processing the application, that's one thing. If you're talking about tuition fees, that's a whole other matter. Tuition fees, of course, cannot not be reimbursed to a foreign student who's not coming. They have to be reimbursed. The courses won't have started yet. That's a basic principle. The service hasn't been given, so these amounts should be reimbursed. Thank you.
Madani, a question. You did talk about the study and stay program that seemed to be a success. Can you expand a little bit on how the program would have, how we can expand on the program and what measures you would propose, and as well as what safeguards you can suggest to the government to put in place to ensure that we have a legitimate process to accept students and to make sure that we are able to retain them?
Ms. Madani, you are on mute, I think.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I just realized I was passionately talking and I wasn't.
Yeah, you can please begin. You have 30 seconds.
Sure. So basically, it's a program in Nova Scotia called the Study and Stay program, and it's an application process. So you have to apply and you have to demonstrate through a letter of intent why you want to stay in Nova Scotia. And the way it also works is that you have to commit to staying in Nova Scotia for a full 2 years after you get this process and application. During the time that you're there, you get mentorship, you get supports. They will make sure that all other things are basically supported, like housing or whatever else. And I don't mean free; I mean just generally from a rent perspective. What they found is that it has been highly successful.
Sorry for interrupting. Your time is up. Thank you. We will now proceed to Mr. Brunel Desap for 2.5 minutes. Mr. Brunel Desap, you can please begin.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Since it's my last turn, I'd like to directly thank the witnesses who prepared today. Wonderful testimony for the good of the committee and recommendations that we can use. Mr. Dornier, I asked you earlier, and I think that we kind of missed this topic because we went on to something else. To what extent are foreign students important for some programs, especially, for instance, the Cégep de Matane, Alma, Saint-Félicien? I was told there are programs that exist because there's a foreign student clientele. Am I right? Yes, absolutely. For many colleges, even outside Quebec, certain programs have a balance point of few students. We can't find the demographics here in Quebec or Canada. We can't find enough students. Getting them abroad and bringing them here means that the program can continue. And it's a program that might end. So if our local students are not sufficient and we don't have enough foreigners, there may be a situation where the program has to shut down. So we see three things with you today. First of all, there are foreign students who have their dreams shattered because they're not accepted here. Secondly, there are programs that may be shut down, especially in the regions, and penalize Canadian students. And thirdly, it's the institutions themselves, Quebec society, that in the final analysis could lose these students who want to stay here after their studies. Am I right? Yes. And even the Francophone communities, consolidating Francophone communities across the country also means we need Francophone and Francophile students who come to study in French. It's the same mechanism across the country. Okay, so we're talking about Francophone communities outside of Quebec too. We've already talked about 4.4% targeted by the government, which was never achieved. I think that there's a lot of work to do on that front. Yes, absolutely. A lot of work. And indeed, this entrance of international students is very important to that 4.4% threshold. And that's exactly why we have to look at this now, because 4.4% is something we've been promised a long time by the government, but the measures were never put in place.
Time is up. We will now proceed to Ms. Kwan for 2.5 minutes, and that will end the round of questioning. Ms. Kwan.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Sorry, is that okay? I like to ask this question. One of the issue with international students that they brought to my attention is this: they often are not able to get enough points through the express entry system because their work experience here in Canada is not counted towards that calculation, and they've been arguing and suggesting that that should be changed, and I'm inclined to agree with them. So I'd like to get your thoughts on that in terms of the immigration policy. Should students' work experiences and their study experiences be recognized towards their landed status application through the express entry system? To both the witnesses, please.
On parle ici de l'expérience au pays.
We're talking about experience in this country, correct? experience when there's students here. Yes, absolutely. It should count. Those are things that demonstrate that the student is putting down roots and is acclimating to the new environment, the new society that's welcomed him or her. I always have this vision of a student who comes here, so it's certain that anything apart from studies should be taken into account.
Thank you very much.
And the issue that you talk about in terms of express entry is for those who are highly skilled, and it means that the points that students would get are for what's called NOC A, B, and C. So depending on the courses of study that the students are taking, if they're not taking courses in one of those higher classifications, then that means that they will not get the additional points for the work experience they have here. So that's why it becomes really important in terms of where I talked about work integrated learning or job opportunities, that we should give them longer time periods, more than 20 hours, to be able to recognize the experience. Because 20 hours, if you're working at Subway, isn't going to give you the work experience and extra points for express entry. So that's what the issue is.
Thank you. Just very quickly, because I think I'm out of time, Ms. Donia, what about your thoughts on lifting the 20 hours limit?
Je pourrais pas.
I can't talk about that. I'm not. Excusez.
With this, our round of questioning comes to an end, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the witnesses for appearing before the committee. If there is something you would like to bring to the notice of the members of this committee and you were not able to bring it up today, you can always send a written submission to the clerk of the committee, and that will be distributed to all the members. And as we come to the stage of drafting the report and the recommendations. So with that, thank you once again to all the witnesses. You can leave this meeting and we will then proceed to our next part. Thank you once again. Thank you. Thanks a lot for your input.
Essential to be incorporated into the motion as well. One is that it absolutely would be critical, in my view, that the motion incorporate language around visa-free travel for Ukraine. This is something that we need to make sure that is in place. And that's something that I would like to put forward when at the appropriate time, and to incorporate into the motion the language that says institute visa-free access to Canada for the Ukrainians impacted by the conflict with Russia by rapidly obtaining an electronic travel authorization. I think that would make sense. And and to put that forward. I also want to note, Madam Chair, the language around rapidly obtaining an electronic travel authorization is the suggestion from Mr. Brunel Desapt, which I think adds to just the call on visa-free travel for Ukraine. The other piece that I'm very concerned about is this. What we need to make sure as we work expeditiously, as the government work expeditiously to address this issue, is to make sure that there is additional increased staffing resources to be put in place. And also immigration levels as required to address the crisis. If we don't, we're going to create a problem, what we have seen with the Afghanistan crisis, because the government basically just brought Peter to pay Paul to deal with the Afghanistan crisis. And as a result, the backlog in the immigration system across all streams only just got worse. Along with the impact of COVID. And we can't let that happen again. So it absolutely, in my view, would be essential that we amend the motion by adding increased staffing resources so that the existing
Sorry for interrupting, Ms. Kwan. You cannot move any amendment right now. Right now, we are debating on the amendment which was proposed by Ms. Lalonde. So until we vote that, you cannot move any amendment. So you can talk about, but you cannot move any amendment right now. First, we have to vote on the amendment proposed by Ms. Lalonde. So just to clarify that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I actually understood that, and I wasn't moving the amendment, and at the appropriate time I would, but I'm only suggesting as we contemplate this motion, what we need to do is to think about all the elements within it. And that's to which what I am commenting about. And related to the motion, along with Ms. Lalonde's amendment, is this piece, and that is to ensure that language is incorporated in the motion to increase staffing resources and immigration levels, increase staffing resources and adjust immigration levels as required so that the existing backlog for all immigration streams is not further impacted by this humanitarian crisis. So that's my intention with respect to that. And so now on the amendment specifically from Ms. Lalonde, I'm okay with that amendment. I don't think it takes away from the main motion. However, at the appropriate time, Madam Chair, I would like to move my other two amendments.
I have a speaking list. So next is Mr. Al-Khairi, and then after that we will go to Mr. Ali. Mr. Al-Khairi.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Lalonde presented a motion, tabled a motion, and we heard it. Ms. Lalonde tabled amendments, and it's clear for everyone. If we must start debating, if not, we have to vote and move on to another step.
Madam Chair, thank you. So Mr. Al-Khoury said it, the same thing. That's what I wanted to bring it to your attention because we have the motion in front of us, and then we need to move on that one. And the second thing, I just wanted to make one comment to Madam Chair. We had a similar situation in Syria and Afghanistan. Why we didn't have visa-free entry from people from there in a similar situation? Why we are having special treatment here? We're here studying discrimination against students from various countries on refusal rates. And here we are suggesting something different for one country and as compared to the similar situation we had in Syria and Afghanistan, we didn't have the same suggestion for them. So just wanted to bring that.
Thank you, Mr. Ali. Mr. Hallen, and then Mr. Dhaliwal. Mr. Hallen.
Well, I'll just echo what Mr. Al-Khoury said. I think we have a motion in front of us. We have an amendment. Let's get on with the vote so we can continue. Then we can bring in Ms. Kwan's amendments after that, just for respect for time.
Thank you, Mr. Hallen. Mr. Dhaliwal.
I will pass, Madam Chair. I would love to support Mr. Allen's motion.
Okay, thank you.
Madame la Présidente, j'imagine que mon ami va se mettre le casque d'écoute. Ça y est, il l'a mis. Merci.
Dhaliwal, we were not able to hear properly, so you can please repeat what you said.
Sorry, Madam Chair, if you want to give me a few minutes, then I will. I certainly would support Mr. Ali and Mr. Hallen, but they have said. But I will also support Ms. Kwan's one part of the motion where she says we have to put more resources in, and we have to adjust the number
on
of
the amendment.
that coming on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Dhaliwal. So seeing no further hand raised and debate, so we will now proceed to the vote on the amendment proposed by Ms. Lalonde. If I can please ask the clerk to take the vote.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The vote is on the amendment proposed by Madame Lalonde. Monsieur Ali.
I support the motion.
Mr. Dhaliwal.
I support the motion.
Monsieur Al-Khoury.
Pour la motion.
Madame Kayabaga. Pardon, Madame Kayabaga.
Je vote pour.
Pour. Madame Lalonde.
Je vote pour.
Mr. Benson.
In favor.
Mr. Genuis.
In favor.
Mr. Halal.
In favor.
Mr. Redekop.
In favor.
Monsieur Brunel Giuseppe.
Pour, Monsieur le Président.
Madame Kwan.
I support the amendment.
Yeas pour 11, nays contre 0.
The amendment passes. So now we have the motion proposed by Mr. Hallen as amended, and I will read the motion that the Standing Committee on Citizenship and Immigration report the following to the House. We condemns the unwarranted and unprovoked attack on Ukraine, which was ordered by Russian President Vladimir Putin, a clear violation of international law, and B, call on the Government of Canada to support Ukrainians and people residing in Ukraine who are impacted by this conflict and ensure that it is prepared to process applications on an urgent basis without compromising needs in other areas. Mr. Genuis?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had submitted in advance to the clerk a form of another amendment which conveniently aligns with one of Ms. Kwan's proposals, and I think it might be more convenient for us to deal with each of her proposals individually. So I will move the amendment that I have submitted in advance, which is to add C and implement visa-free travel from Ukraine to Canada. This obviously doesn't preclude other amendments afterwards, but I'd like to just go ahead and move that amendment. This is something that,
your amendment and implement visa-free?
Yeah, so
can you please repeat your amendment?
Yeah, so first of all, it does involve striking the earlier and before B, but then it adds to the end and implement visa-free travel from Ukraine to Canada. And I think that's largely self-explanatory, but just to respond to the question that was asked about this maybe not having been done in other cases, I think we have to acknowledge that that it has long been the policy of the government to have visa-free travel for some countries and not for others. I don't think we would want to say that the government, in the interest of fairness, has to either have visa requirements for every country or visa requirements for no country. And I think these determinations are made on the basis of a variety of considerations around around the likely numbers that would come and the impacts that would have in terms of the speed at which that would occur and capacity and so forth. But I think in light of the current situation in Ukraine and the fact that many comparable partner countries already have visa-free travel, that Ukrainians can have the option, for instance, of traveling to many countries in Europe, but that many may have family members in Canada and therefore want to come to Canada as well. I think visa-free travel makes sense in this particular context, and doesn't mean we shouldn't consider it in other contexts. Doesn't it mean that we maybe shouldn't have done it in other contexts? But I think it makes sense under the circumstances in this particular case. That's why I'm moving this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. We now have an amendment proposed by Mr. Genius on the floor, and we will debate on that. Ms. Kwan.
Well, thank you very much, Madam Chair. I certainly support the amendment for visa-free travel for Ukraine. This is something that New Democrats has been calling for since 2018. And unfortunately, the government has not acted on it. Had the government acted on it back then, perhaps some of the people who are in Ukraine at this moment may have actually made it out already. I know for one of my constituents, their visa was rejected from the government through their application from 2 years ago, and now they're absolutely frantic because of the situation. And so making visa-free travel for Ukraine would absolutely be essential. I would certainly support it, Madam Chair. And then at the appropriate time, I'd like to move my other amendment.
Thank you. We now have Mr. Al-Khouri and then Mr. Brunel Desapp. Mr. Al-Khouri.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Madame la Présidente, on sait très bien que
we know that visa-free travel means coming to Canada without biometrics and security. And in Canada, we have to think of the security of all Canadians. It must be an absolute priority. Now, if there are Russian infiltrators that are amongst Ukrainians and are terrorists and arrive in Canada, what will be the position of our government if we end up with this type of security problem? Others are asking why they do not go through biometric measurements once they arrive in Canada. The Ukraine is now considered to be a war zone, and when someone is on Canadian territory, we cannot deport the person to a country considered in a war zone. So we're stuck with these people. Other opinions say, why don't we do like neighboring countries or European countries where people can go without a problem, without a visa, because people are integrated in a system where they can enjoy those benefits. So the priority for us, security is an absolute priority for us. We cannot allow ourselves to endanger the lives of our citizens, and we ask that biometrics and security remain for people arriving in Canada.
Brunel Desapp.
Oui, merci, Madame la Présidente. Je ferais juste remarquer... attendez, je m'entends en anglais, là. Je vais le remettre...
Sorry, I can hear myself in English. I just wanted to point out, Madam Chair, that people going through Roxham Road do have their biometric data taken in Canada. That is a priority for my colleague. That should have been remedied some time ago. This is in Ukraine. There is a war zone. People need to leave as quickly as possible, and I think there is a consensus among opposition parties to allow visa-free travel. But I would propose a friendly amendment, a friendly sub-amendment to my friend Mr. Garnett's motion. I would add to his amendment, particularly or specifically through the rapid granting of electronic travel authorization. I don't know if my friend Garnett would accept this sub-amendment, this friendly sub-amendment. If so, I would vote for his amendment.
Are you proposing a sub-amendment to the amendment proposed by Mr. Janus? Mr. Brunel Desaep, are you proposing a sub-amendment?
Oui, ben c'est ça. Je rajouterais.
Yes, exactly. Specifically by the rapid granting of electronic travel authorization. Would Mr. Garnett accept that as a friendly amendment to his amendment?
Just one second. Let me just consult the clerk. Mr. Brunel Desaep, you can propose a sub-amendment if it is within the scope of the amendment. So can you please read your sub-amendment so that the clerk can get it and we can have a look if it is within the scope of the amendment?
Oui, puis on va vous l'envoyer. Donc,
Yes, absolutely. That Ukrainians be granted travel, that there be visa-free travel from Ukraine to Canada, specifically through the rapid granting of electronic travel authorization.
c'est ce dont Jenny parlait tantôt, d'ailleurs.
This is what my colleague was saying earlier.
Mr. Brunel Desaep, can you please repeat your sub-amendment?
Oui, avec plaisir. Donc,
This is a free translation because the interpreter has no text. I'll go back to it. And implement visa-free travel from Ukraine to Canada, specifically through the rapid granting of electronic travel authorization.
Be a bit slow. Repeat it again, just slowly so that the clerk can get it. He's trying to type it.
Pardon. Okay.
Please be a bit slow.
Okay.
My father always said the same thing. And implement visa-free travel from Ukraine to Canada, specifically through the rapid granting of electronic travel authorization. Would you like me to email this to everyone? That would be easier.
Being able to get it. Can you please repeat, going very slow? Or if you can send it by email to the clerk.
C'est ça que je dis, ça fait...
Yes, I have suggested 3 times that I should email it. I've said 3 times that I can email it.
Wait for you to email it to the clerk.
On va y arriver, je sais.
Thank you, Mr. Brunel.
Yes, I'll do that right now.
Yeah, the clerk will read the sub-amendment. Please go ahead.
L'amendement au nom de M. Brunel Desaep, c'est d'ajouter.
The amendment in the name of Mr. Brunel Desaep will be to add the following words, specifically by implementing a rapidly granted electronic travel authorization, free translation from the French, through the rapid granting of electronic travel authorization. Only the French is official.
We now have a sub-amendment to the amendment proposed. Ms. Lalonde.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la Présidente. Ma seule préoccupation est franchement,
you know, with the circumstances of what's going on, we certainly we're trying hard to find a way to come with a consolidation of goodwill. My only concern regarding the amendment and the sub-amendment is that we're still not addressing the security overall, and I do not think, and that's for my colleague from the Bloc Québécois, that the ETA that he's proposing as a sub-amendment actually requires biometrics. So we're still in the same perspective where individuals, and we know that we already, I know from a government perspective, have welcomed and processed more than 4,000 individuals, person in Ukraine, who are looking to come to Canada. And so that's my only concern, and I don't know if Mr. Brunel-Duceppe wants to elaborate on that, but it still doesn't, in my view, address some of the concern expressed by my colleague about the security here within Canada.
Thank you. Mr. Dhaliwal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, it's not only the Liberal members that are concerned about the security. It is my understanding, I'm not going to repeat, but my other colleagues on the Liberal side has said, but it's my understanding that Ukrainian Canadian Congress is also concerned about, bad people coming to Canada if there is a visa-free entry. So I personally would suggest that the members of the opposition should reconsider, because security and safety of Canadians is of utmost importance. And this is not gonna go well. So please consider that and not support this motion.
Mr. Dhaliwal, Mr. Hallen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Look, I think we're all concerned about security. There's no doubt. Mr. Al-Khari had some really good points, Ms. Lalonde. There's always going to be a question or a threat of maybe there's a Russian sympathizer that could be there, but the way things are right now, I believe that they do check if someone has or is a threat to Canada, whether it is a visa-free travel or not. I believe that's the way it is. There is an element of is that person going to be a Canadian threat? And, what we're doing here is proposing, given the situation, just what we want or what we want to see the government do. Whatever decision that, the officials make with the minister, however that looks, whether they think that biometrics need to be done, whether they think that that should be done before that person gets here or when they're here, I still think that's a decision they should make. Right now, what we're doing in the spirit of trying to help the situation any way that we can is we're proposing this so that it can be taken back into consideration by the officials and the government. And I think we're all on the same page. And, that security threat, that is something that's serious, and I think that everyone understands that part. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Brunel-Duceppe.
Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to assure my colleagues that I do take security issues very seriously, and I fully agree with my colleague, Ms. Lalonde. There are a lot of European countries that do not require visas for other countries, and in those countries there are many potential Russian sympathizers who could then come visa-free to Canada. But as my colleague said, there are security checks carried out even when no visa needs to be granted, so let's not lose sight of that. We spoke about the Ukrainian community, and with all Due respect for my colleague, Mr. Daliwal, I understand the fears the community may have. There are also many members of the Ukrainian communities from the Ukrainian communities that are asking us to act quickly and eliminate visa requirements for the duration of the conflict. We are not asking visa requirements to be eliminated forever necessarily. Something else to consider, the Ukraine is soon going to apply to join the European Union. So if that were granted, it would be part of the European community. How would you then justify having a visa requirement imposed on an EU country when other EU countries don't have to deal with that requirement? I understand this is a sensitive issue, but I do believe that we can all agree quite quickly. And I do want to assure my colleagues that security issues are indeed very important to me. I do believe I have given you enough points and shown you my reasoning for eliminating visa requirements for Ukrainians during the conflict and during the only while the conflict lasts.
Ms.
Thank
Kwan.
you very much, Madam Chair. Just want to highlight this point as well, and it's been indicated by other committee members. It is certainly not the case that New Democrats are not concerned about security. Of course we are, and of course we want to ensure that Canadians are also protected as well. But we should also keep in mind that visa-free travel for Ukraine is being adopted by over 140 countries, and most recently by Ireland as well. Does that mean to say that those other countries in Ireland are not concerned about their security? Of course not. There are other measures to which could be put in place, but of essence, and time is of the essence right now with this situation. People's lives are at risk. And I got to tell you, my constituents whose grandmother, who's 80 years old, had been rejected with their visa application 2 years ago, is desperate to get out of the country, to reunite with their loved ones and to be safe. This is why visa-free is absolutely essential at this point in time to facilitate and to expedite this process. This is what we've got to do to support the people of Ukraine at this juncture.
And Mr. Al-Khairi. Mr. Al-Khairi, it's your turn. Yeah, I have you on the list, yes.
Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, I think that the Government of Canada and the people of Canada and we are prepared as a government and as a people to do our share more than any other country in the world to assess the situation. We cannot understand the magnitude of the risks. So it's much better that people who have the experience and responsibility, be it in the Department of Public Safety or the Department of Immigration, leave it up to those people to assess the situation and see how they can accelerate providing a visa to all these people on condition that all our security requirements are met. I think there are responsible people who know what to do, and they are prepared to cooperate. So we should ask those people.
Baga, and then Mr. Redikop. Ms. Kaya Baga.
Madam Chair, I wanted to propose a sub to the sub. I don't know if that's possible, but
that's not possible. We cannot have a sub amendment, so it stops at sub amendment until we deal and vote on the sub amendment. Then you can propose another sub amendment.
Okay,
but we cannot propose any further amendment to the sub amendment.
And can there be a friendly to this, or?
If there is a unanimous consent of the committee, there can be friendly, but there cannot be a sub amendment.
Okay, I think what I was trying to propose is an expedited, simplified visa process that would allow people to come, but also would ensure verifying security, which would sort of work with what they're proposing, but in a way that the security piece is still there.
Is proposing a friendly amendment. So if we have the consent from all the members, it can go ahead, but we cannot have like a sub amendment. So right now we have a sub amendment, so we cannot have another sub to it. So do all the members agree with the friendly amendment proposed by Ms. Kayabaga?
Could I just hear the text one more time, Madam Chair, please?
Yeah, Ms. Kayabaga, can you please repeat what you are proposing to come as a friendly amendment?
Yeah, I'm just proposing an expedited and simple way to process the visas, but with a level of security involved, and that would be the friendly. I don't know if just Raj is listening or is able to, I don't know what you think.
Just maybe a point of order, Madam Chair. We need to see. I mean, it makes sense in principle, I think, but I think we need to see the text before we can say, you know,
it's a friendly.
Comfortable with that.
It's.
I would propose is, Ms. Kayabaga, if you can send this, let's deal with this sub-amendment first, and then maybe you can come, once we vote on this sub-amendment, you can propose a sub-amendment after that. So first of all, meanwhile, you can send it to the clerk. First of all, let's deal with the sub-amendment.
Madam Chair.
Yes,
Madam Chair.
Mr. Dhaliwal.
Madam Chair, as Mr. Garnet Janice has said, why don't we just, because it's easy to work with consensus. So if Madam Kayabaga can send that amendment quickly, and it can be incorporated, and things can work more coordinately. And I'm sure Madam Kwan is also waiting for her amendment to put the staff in. So let's do this.
Thank you, Mr. Dhaliwal. Would all the members agree that we wait until Ms. Kayabaga can send her friendly amendment to the sub-amendment? Okay, I think everyone is in agreement with that. So we will wait for Ms. Kayabaga to please send it to the clerk.
Madam Chair, while that is going on, I'm embarrassed to admit this, but I realize I did make a small grammatical error with my original amendment, that in order to flow properly, it should say at the beginning of C, call on the government of Canada to ... Because otherwise it doesn't make perfect sense. It says we implement visa-free travel from Ukraine to Canada, which we can't obviously do. So if we can, while we wait for that, just by unanimous consent, undo my error and add that back in, or add that in, I would be very grateful. I see Suk is giving a thumbs up, so I assume it means we have consensus.
Does everyone agree on making a change to Mr. So just one person at a time, if we can have these conversations off the table. Mr. Janice has just mentioned that there is a grammatical mistake. In order to change that, we would need the unanimous consent. So, okay, that is fine. So, Mr. Janice, can you please repeat once again?
Just to add after the C in the amendment, call on the government of Canada to.
Visa-free travel from Ukraine to Canada.
Exactly.
Okay, so the amendment which Mr. Janice has proposed would read as call on the government of Canada to implement the visa-free travel from Ukraine to Canada. That's the amendment after the friendly change to that and the unanimous consent. So we will just wait for Ms. Kayabaga for sending her the friendly amendment to this amendment.
Madam Chair, while we proceed with the next, with the amendment that I would like to propose.
Let's deal with this sub-amendment. We have to deal with the sub-amendment first before we come to that. Thank you.
Can we suspend for a few seconds then?
Yeah, I can suspend the meeting for a few seconds until the clerk receives the friendly amendment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Has received the friendly suggestion by Ms. Kayabaga, and he will read that. Mr. Clerk.
So Ms. Kayabaga's text, which would replace, I don't know if it would replace Mr. Ducep's amendment or if it would be added on to it, but it is the text adopting an expedited and simplified visa process that ensures verifying security. If I may ask, Ms. Kayabaga, is that to replace Mr. Ducep's amendment or to be added on at the end of it?
That was my friendly or sub amendment / friendly. I don't know where it falls, so you tell me.
I need to know what the committee wants to do, if the committee wants that to be a replacement of the text that Mr. Brunel proposed, or if they want it to be added on to the end of it.
Ms. Kayabaga, are you proposing this friendly amendment to replace what Mr. Brunel Duceppe has brought as an amendment, or add after that's sub-amendment?
From the full proposal that Mr. Duceppe put on the floor.
Sorry, Ms. Kayabaga, can you please repeat? What did you say?
It's to replace both Mr. Garnett's amendment and Mr. Duceppe's.
No, we cannot go to that. So
Okay, so
right
this
now
is-
we have the sub-amendment. That's what, no change can be made to the amendment proposed by Mr. Janis. So right now we are debating on the amendment which Mr. Brunel Duceppe has proposed. So if the members agree, we can make a change to that sub-amendment.
Proposal.
Madam Chair, I don't think it's consensus to proceed as proposed. We want to see the language of visa-free travel in there.
Madam Chair, if I can jump in, I have my hand up for quite some time now, but have not been recognized. So if I can jump in at this point, given that this
Just
requires
1 second, I'm
unanimous-
just consulting the clerk on this. I have you on the speaking list, and we will go down based on the speaking list. So, do all the members agree to take this friendly amendment proposed by Ms. Kayabaga? No? Okay. So that is not there. So we have the sub-amendment proposed by Mr. Brunel Duceppe on the floor, and we are debating on the sub-amendment by Mr. Brunel Duceppe, and I have a speaking order. Mr. Reddycop and then Ms. Kwan. Mr. Reddycop.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to bring us back a little bit. Let's just remember what's happening. We have a dictator from Russia who's attacking Ukraine. There are people in Ukraine who are suffering right now. We know that the government is not going to take what we do and implement it word for word. They're going to do their detail. They're going to do what they want to do. So we're really conveying an intent here. And if I look at the clock, we have 5 minutes left, and I would plead with us to not get bogged down in all these technical details that the government's going to ignore anyway. Let's convey the spirit of what we're trying to say to help the people of Ukraine. And if we need a few more minutes, I'm proposing we would take that few more minutes to get through this so that we can get this done today. That would be my humble and sincere request to this committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reddycop. Ms. Kwan.
Agreed. Call the vote on the sub-amendment and then the amendment, please.
Mr. Brunel Duceppe.
Oh, well, that's fine. You said what I intended. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no further debate, we will go for the vote on the sub-amendment. So, Mr. Clerk, if you can please take the vote on the sub-amendment proposed by Mr. Brunel Duceppe.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The question is on the sub-amendment proposed by Mr. Brunel Duceppe. Mr. Ali.
I vote against the motion, amendment.
Mr. Dhaliwal.
No.
Monsieur El Khoury.
Contre.
Madame Kayabaga. Madame Lalonde.
Je suis contre.
Mr. Benson.
In favor.
Mr. Genuis.
In favor.
Mr. Halan.
In favor.
Mr. Reddycop.
In favor.
Monsieur Brunel Duceppe.
Who?
Ms. Kwan.
4.
Madam Chair, yeas, pour, 6, nays, contre, 5. 6 to 5. Yes.
Okay, so the sub-amendment passes. Now we have the amendment proposed by Mr. Jenis as amended by the sub-amendment. So we have the amendment proposed by Mr. Jenis on the floor. Seeing no further debate, Ms. Lalonde.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I think I hear my colleague on all sides of this. I'm just, I guess, for me, it's almost important that as we go through this process, that would mean that basically anyone that, you know, I think we agree that we fully support welcoming of Ukrainian to Canada, those that want. And I know that listening to news, we know that there's individuals who are being interviewed by, you know, people on the grounds that are saying they're going to stay and fight for the country that they call home. And there's some others, as we saw, many other who have made their way out to various locations of NATO allies where they are being received and possibly they have chosen to come to Canada and other countries. And we're going to say welcome to those individuals. But I just want, I guess, for myself, just to reiterate the importance of currently a system that seems to generally has worked fairly well for over close to 4,000 Ukrainians at this time. And I think I want to make sure that, you know, and I'm not sure what's going to be decided and as expressed here, but as we welcome people, we want also to ensure the safety and the security of our Canadians. So I just want to make sure that I was on record for that. Thank you.
Ms. Lalonde, and seeing no further debate, Ms. Kayabaga.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to echo my colleagues' comments as well. I think that it's important that this discussion and how we're going about this is not translated that we do not want Ukrainians to come here. That's the opposite. I've lived through the war. I know what a war does to people, and we want to welcome Ukrainians in this country and make sure that people have a safe place to call home. So, but it's important to talk about Ukrainians who live in Canada already here, and their security is also at stake, and we have to consider that. So our vote today is not to say no to Ukrainians, but it's to keep in mind of all Ukrainians, the ones that are already living in our country today, and the ones that are coming here. And we look forward to welcoming all the Ukrainians that are going to come in Canada and live alongside them and support them to heal through this process that is traumatic to everyone. So I just also wanted to get on the record to make sure that we're talking about our security being compromised, and we're talking about Ukrainian Canadians who might be compromised through this process if it's not done the right way. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Dhaliwal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I also want to echo my colleagues' comments that we do welcome the Ukrainians that are going through a very, very difficult time. But we can achieve those goals, you know, without compromising security, using other means, and that is what exactly what we believe, and that is what on this side of the committee, on the Liberal side, that we fully support Ukrainian that are in difficult time, but we can achieve what the opposition want to achieve with different process without compromising the security of Canadians.
Mr. Dhaliwal, Mr. Ali.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I echo my colleagues. Since this war has started, I have a hard time sleeping to see those horrible stories. And we stand with our Ukrainian friends. I also would like to recognize that our Minister of Immigration and IRCC has done an amazing job. 4,000 Ukrainian have been processed to come to Canada, and who are already here, their work permit and student permits they have been extended. They're doing an amazing job expediting those applications, and I'm sure they'll do looking at the situation, expedited processes. At the same time, our intent is to keep Canadians safe. And that is the reason we all on the same page, but at the same time, we all have concern to keep Canadians safe. And there are concerns, security concern, and our vote was based upon that.
Thank you, Mr. Ali. Mr. Brunel Duceppe.
Mr. Brunel Duceppe, I think all points have been made, really. I just want to make sure that all colleagues are aware that we are all trying to help Ukrainians who are at war right now. And that's very clear to all of us. I think all political parties are united in that spirit. There is one point, this point, that divides us. But I do want to reassure my friends, if dozens of countries are accepting Ukrainians without visas, if soon Ukraine could be part of the EU, well, I trust our security services here on the ground. Many Ukrainians are asking us to help their families and allow visa-free travel. I think that's the right thing to do, but we don't need to be divided on this. I do know that we all want the same thing. We want to help Ukrainians and, of course, ensure that Canadians and Quebecers remain safe.
Seeing no further debate, so we will now go for a vote on the amendment proposed by Mr. Janice and as amended by the sub-amendment. Mr. Clerk, if you can please take the vote.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. The question is on the amendment of Mr. Genuis as amended. Mr. Ali.
No.
Mr. Dhaliwal.
No.
Monsieur El Khoury.
Contre.
Madame Kayabaga.
Non.
Madame Lalonde.
No.
Mr. Benson.
In favor.
Mr. Genuis.
Yes.
Mr. Halan.
In favor.
Mr. Redekop.
Yes.
Monsieur Brunel Duceppe.
Pour.
Madame Kwan.
Yes.
Madam Chair, yeas 6, nays 5.
Thank you. So the amendment is passed. So now we have the motion proposed by Mr. Hallan as amended. Ms. Kwan.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I'd like to move an amendment to the motion by adding the following: increase staffing resources and adjust immigration levels as required while respecting Quebec authority on immigration, so that the existing backlog for all immigration streams is not further impacted by this humanitarian crisis. And I would propose for this amendment to be added as a additional point to the main motion. The language of this
Kwan, can you
amendment,
please repeat your amendment?
She sent it to me, and I've just distributed it to them.
Okay, so the clerk has distributed the amendment proposed by Ms. Kwan to all the members of the committee.
Yes, I was just going to say the language
Yes.
of this amendment in both English and French has been sent to the clerk so that all committee members can receive that.
Thank you. Mr. Dhaliwal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I think this is the amendment Madam Kwan brought forward is a very important one, and I fully support it because it would not put a pressure on other immigrants that do want to come to Canada. Because we have seen during the Afghanistan issue, there were tremendous amount of calls that we got when we were calling the IRCC, the most of the staff was busy there, but nothing wrong with that. But in fact, it takes no time, the attention away from the other immigrants that want to come in and put a lot of toll on them. So good suggestion, and I would love to see other members support it as well.
Thank you, Mr. Dhaliwal. Ms. Lalonde?
I just wanted a few minutes to read, Madam Chair.
To Mr. Brunel de Sepp.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Je veux juste souligner à mes collègues.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The only thing that concerns me in this is the reference to immigration. I know that Quebec and the Authority of Quebec is taken into account, but if immigration is increased in other provinces but not in Quebec, then Quebec's demographic weight will be affected. So I'm happy with the with increasing staffing resources and immigration levels, but if she could remove references to immigration levels, I would be happy to vote for the amendment. But if that remains, that would make a difference, because if immigration levels were increased across Canada but not in Quebec, that would affect the demographic weight of Quebec within Canada. What's needed here, increased staffing resources, absolutely, but I don't think we need to talk about immigration levels. Thank you.
Ms. Lalonde?
Je remercie beaucoup.
I would like to thank my colleague for his comments, because that's more or less what I was going to say. I wanted to ask whether my colleague, Ms. Kwan, would agree to a sub-amendment of her amendment, and we would remove the reference to immigration levels. We could say increase staffing resources so that the existing backlog for all immigration streams is not further impacted by this humanitarian crisis. I will let you consider that.
Amendment, like a sub-amendment to the amendment proposed by Ms. Kwan.
Oui.
Yes, exactly.
Amendment on the floor as proposed by Ms. Lalonde. So the sub-amendment, can you please repeat what the sub-amendment says?
Définitivement, Madame. Attendez.
Of course, I'll take off the mask so that interpreters can hear me well. Increase staffing resources so that the existing backlog for all immigration streams is not further impacted by this humanitarian crisis. The words "and immigration levels" drop.
Ms. Lalonde is deleting the words "and adjust immigration levels as required while respecting Quebec authority on immigration." So, Mr. Dhaliwal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I just want to thank Madam Lalonde. It's very thoughtful, because if we look at the numbers, we have the highest number of immigrants coming in during this year, the last year, and the year before. So that basically is already been taken care, and I would fully support the thoughtfulness of Madam Lalonde. And I personally would suggest that Madam Kwan also accept this, and then we can move to the vote in favor of that, and let's get over with this. Thank you.
Ms. Kwan.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. From my perspective, I actually think it is absolutely essential that immigration levels numbers are also considered in this humanitarian crisis. If, in fact, the government moves to including refugee opportunities for the people for Ukrainians, then we need to actually adjust the levels numbers. Otherwise, all that does is to put pressure on other countries who need those levels numbers, because there's no magic here. It's a zero-sum game. These numbers, if you take from one place, the others will fall short. We saw that, in fact, through an ATIP with respect to the government's approach on incorporating the Afghanistan humanitarian crisis and the TR to PR initiative. The government, by announcing those immigration measures without adjusting additional staffing resources and immigration levels numbers, meant that the express entry system for the skilled foreign workers category was going to be paused. It was going to be paused for some years as a result of that. Those are the kinds of repercussions that we have when we make announcements without taking into consideration of the entire picture. So I think it is quite critical that immigration levels numbers be considered and adjusted if necessary, and taking into consideration of Quebec and recognizing Quebec's authority. That's why in my amendment, it incorporated that aspect as well. And to Mr. Brunel Ducep's concern that if the numbers of the population increases in other provinces, it means that Quebec's population would decrease. There are other things to which we can, in terms of their overall population in comparison to other provinces, would decrease. Then we can think about other initiatives in collaboration with the Quebec government to see how we can adjust that, including as an example of boosting up the numbers for immigration measures for Francophone immigrants. As an example, there we can adjust that by way of immigration measures. So that's why I think the motion has my amendment has broad enough language that says respecting Quebec's authority on immigration, and that would require for the government to talk to the Quebec government to ensure that those concerns are addressed accordingly. So I would urge committee members to reconsider their thoughts on this. Leaving out immigration levels numbers will cause a problem down the road, and that's something that I think we all agree we don't want to see.
Thank you, Ms. Kwan. Okay, so now we will take a vote on the amendment proposed by Ms. Lalonde on the amendment proposed by Ms. Kwan. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The question is on the sub-amendment moved by Madame Lalonde to the amendment of Madame Kwan. Mr. Ali.
Yes, I vote in favor of the amendment.
Mr. Dhaliwal.
Yes.
Monsieur El Khoury.
Pour.
Madame Kayabaga.
Je vote pour.
Madame Lalonde.
Pour.
Mr. Benson.
Yes.
Mr. Genuis.
Yes.
Mr. Halan.
In favor.
Mr. Redekop.
Yes.
Monsieur Brunet Duceppe.
Pour.
Madame Kwan.
Against.
Madam Chair, that is yeas pool 10, nays contre 1.
Thank you. So the sub-amendment passes. So now we have before the committee the amendment as amended by the amendment proposed by Ms. Kwan as amended before us. Seeing no further debate, if we can please take the vote on the amendment proposed by Ms. Kwan and as amended by the sub-amendment proposed by Ms. Lalonde. Yes. So, yes. So, the amendment which was sub-amendment which was proposed by Ms. Kwan the amendment which was proposed by Ms. Kwan was increasing staffing resources and adjust immigration levels as required while respecting Quebec authority on immigration so that the existing backlog for all immigration streams is not further impacted by this humanitarian crisis. Now, after the sub-amendment proposed by Ms. Lalonde and as passed, the amendment as amended will read as increase staffing resources so that existing backlog for all immigration streams is not further impacted by this humanitarian crisis. vote, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The question is on the amendment of Madame Kwan as amended. Monsieur Ali?
Yes.
Mr. Dhaliwal?
Yes.
Monsieur El Khoury?
Pour.
Madame Kayabaga?
Je suis pour. Je vote pour.
Madame Lalonde?
Pour.
Mr. Benson?
In favor.
Mr. Genuith?
In favor.
Mr. Halan?
In favor.
Mr. Redekop?
Yes.
Monsieur Brunet Duceppe?
Pour.
Madame Kwan?
For.
Madam, that is yeas pour 11, nays contre 0.
Thank you. So the amendment passes. Now we have before the committee the motion proposed by Mr. Hallan as amended by the amendments proposed by Mr. Janius and Ms. Kwan. So, would you like to read the motion? Would you like to read the motion?
I can try.
Yes. So we can, seeing no further debate, we can go for the vote on the motion.
Do you want me to wish to try to read the motion again, Madam Chair?
Members like the clerk to read the motion as amended, or is everyone clear on what we are voting on? Okay, so Mr. Ali, did you say something?
Yes. Can we read the motion, please?
Okay. We'll give this difficult task to the clerk of the committee to see if we can put this together.
Okay. Increasing staffing. Okay, my understanding to the members of the committee that this is what the committee is voting on now. The full motion would be that the Standing Committee on Citizenship and Immigration report the following to the House. We, A, condemn the unwarranted and unprovoked attack on Ukraine, which was ordered by Russian President Vladimir Putin, a clear violation of international law. B, call on the Government of Canada to support refugees who are
Refugees is out.
I beg your pardon?
The word refugees is out. It's to support Ukrainians and people residing in Ukraine.
Oh, I beg your pardon. You're right. Yes. To support Ukrainians and people residing in Ukraine who are impacted by this conflict and ensure that it is prepared to process applications on an urgent basis without compromising needs in other areas. And C, call on the Government of Canada to implement visa-free travel from Ukraine to Canada, including the rapid issuance of an electronic travel authorization, increase staffing resources so that the existing backlog for all immigration streams is not further impacted by this humanitarian crisis. Do I have that right?
Yes.
The question is on the motion of Mr. Halan as amended.
Sorry,
Ms. Kwan.
Madam Chair.
Ms. Kwan, yes, please.
Should there be an and in the before the last clause of increasing
Yes,
resources?
we will add that. So
We can add
that will be adjusted.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank
So
you.
we will go for a vote on the motion as amended.
The motion as amended. Monsieur Ali.
Madam Chair, since we have passed many motions, I think this is unnecessary, so I'll vote against this motion.
Against it. Okay. Mr. Dhaliwal.
No.
I didn't hear what he said.
Mr. Dhaliwal, can you please repeat? You were on mute, like the clerk didn't get it.
No.
Okay. Monsieur El Khoury.
Contre.
Ms. Kayabaga.
No.
Madame Lalonde.
No.
Mr. Benson.
In favor.
Mr. Genuith.
In favor.
Mr. Halan.
In favor.
Mr. Redekop.
In favor.
Monsieur Brunel Duceppe.
Pour.
Madame Kwan.
For.
Madam Chair, yeas pour 6, nays contre 5.
Thank you. The motion passes. Just 1 second. Okay, so the motion as amended passes, and we will prepare a report, and at the first opportunity, either Wednesday or Thursday, I will present that in the House. Yes, we are coming to that. So now, because of the time, like we are already beyond 1 o'clock, we cannot go into the drafting instructions today. So, but I just want to bring it to the notice of all the members that we will have to take some time out on Thursday to do the drafting instructions, because we have to do that this week in order to give time to the analyst to start drafting the report on the study we have just completed today. So what would be the will of the members? Mr. Genius.
Madam Chair, I wonder if it's possible to extend the meeting on Thursday to accommodate that. My understanding is that we have the minister and officials, and that's a pretty critical point of discussion. We wouldn't want to cut into that.
That I will have to check. That will be up to the whips to decide. So I will have to check with that and then get back to the committee if that would be appropriate or okay with everyone to add further. So that I will come back to the members. Let me check, and then I can either send out an email. The clerk will send out an email on behalf of the chair, or I will get in touch with all of you to clarify that. So one thing before, just want to inform all the members that the minister is available, and the clerk got in touch. He is available to combine the subs and the mains on Thursday. So is it all right with all the members that we have both the subs as well as the mains on Thursday, and the minister will be here? Okay. So
sorry,
Mr. Janis.
It's a single. If it's 1 hour, if the minister could come for 2 hours to discuss the subs and the mains, I think that.
2 hours. Is coming for an hour, and then the officials will be here for the second hour, because otherwise there is we checked on the availability. So otherwise the other option would be that when he comes on 24th as we are doing the study on the differential outcomes, so then we have to do 1 hour on that study and 1 hour on the mains, if that's the will of the committee. Otherwise, we can combine both subs and mains on Thursday and have the minister for an hour and then the officials for the second hour.
Maybe I'll defer to others who've been in here for longer, but I mean, in the committees I've been part of, it was pretty normal for the ministers to come for at least 2 hours, so that, because after they've made their opening statements, to make sure everybody who's a member of the committee has a chance to at least have some opportunity to ask questions. So, I think subs and mains all in 1 hour seems pretty constraining in terms of our access to the minister.
Thank you, Mr. Redekop.
I think I speak for all the opposition. We would like them separated into two hours.
Okay. So seeing no further hands raised, so what we will do is that we will have the subs on Thursday, and the minister will be here for 1 hour, and then the officials for the second hour. And then on 24th of March, the minister will be coming for the differential outcomes, and we can have him 1 hour for the differential outcomes, and then the second hour for the mains. Okay. Before we adjourn the meeting, there is one committee business which we have to do. There has been a change to the membership of this committee, and I would like to welcome the new members, Mr. Genius and Mr. Benson. As Mr. Seaback is no longer here as a member of this committee, we need to elect a vice chair. So I would ask. Yes, Mr. Redekop.
Madam Chair, I would propose that we nominate Jazz Singhalan as our vice chair.
Thank you. Any other nominations? Okay, so Mr. Reddycop has proposed that Mr. Jasraj Singh Hallan be the vice chair. Is it will of the committee to adopt this? Okay. Congratulations, Mr. Hallan. Very hard-fought election.
Always.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So Mr. Hallan will be the vice chair. Welcome. So with that, the meeting is now adjourned, and then we will see you on Thursday. Thank you.